This is the week most divorced dads relapse, not publicly, but quietly, mentally, spiritually, sometimes even physically. I'm going to talk about a 3-day discipline drop pattern, but I'm also going to just talk about that many times the inner dialogue is something that says, I deserve this, depending on your situation. But I know for me, as I reflect back, as I look through some of my journals during this time that I'll share with you, and I'll remember there were times when, many of you guys are great on the physical side, and I can remember a season where I was progressing, I was doing better, I was working out, I had my mind stuff, journaled out, I was running my business, I was doing what I could with the kids, and it looked like I was rolling. I was rolling. It didn't look like I was rolling. I was having momentum. I was having progress. I was doing all of those things, and it was a good run. And then what happened? Like what did the relapse happen? I'm going to get into some of the the brain science of what actually happens. But what happened for me was I got into a groove and I got into a pattern that was working well. And then I slipped up. And what was the slip up? I think for me it was usually, you know, a battle with alcohol or a battle with gummies or, weed gummies, just to kind of zen myself out or click off because my mind was running so much. And what I realized was that I had this same pattern for decades. I had a built-in system of my life where when I would get a certain point, it was like a self-sabotage. And many times it happened for me with what I would eat. And that was such a reward mechanism because I'd gone through so many times of being really strict with what I ate, being super disciplined, getting great results, and then what happens? I go on this, cheat or off the wagon or whatever you want to call it. Well, that same methodology and system was now right involved with my mental programming and my relapse programming because I felt like I needed a break or I felt like I needed a rest or I felt like I needed a reward because I was doing so good. And the reward happened after I remember a couple things in business what didn't go my way. I was tired, fatigued. The kids weren't there. It was a few items that were all on the plate at once. And I looked at my track record and I said, man, I've been doing really good. I've been crushing it. I deserve a break. I deserve, you know, this sort of checkout, or whatever it might be. Just getting out of the situation, right? Trying to feel that comfort for myself, trying to feel that safety, trying to feel all of those things that was in most cases the reason why I was there. And nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to talk about that comfort really is and will kill you. They don't want to talk about that. Our programming is designed to for us to say, yes, rah, 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 we need to go do it. We need to, do hard things and it's all hard. So do hard things, right? But the reality is that we're doing hard things so that we could feel more comfortable, so that we can, have the finances we want so we can be more comfortable or we can, you know, and 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 it's a paradox because as soon as you get to that point, those that next level of training is there. And I kept finding myself in these moments where I would get on these great streaks and then self-sabotage. And self-sabotage doesn't necessarily have to be something that was, I wouldn't even call it an addiction. I would say I was addicted to not being addicted. I was addicted to this certain level of success or growth, and to get to that next level meant that I then needed to take away these other things mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, that I had to do that. And so I want you to hear that part because I believe many other dads are in that same category. If you're a high level leader, you're A list, A type personality, You're on the go nonstop. You are firing on all cylinders. To take a break and to rest, many don't know how to do that. I have trouble doing that. I've been watching a lot of stuff on Kobe lately, and I love Kobe. But one of Kobe's his greatest strength was his greatest weakness. He never turned off. And that bit him. He was always on the move and on the go. And I believe he was on the move and on the go so much so that the helicopter crash was because he wasn't willing to be patient and just take a second. Pressing, 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 pressing. So the neuroscience of this is, again, it's this dopamine in our brain, and it's a reward loop. So again, it goes cue, craving, behavior, reward. And it's a habit loop is what happens. And so your nervous system is attempting to regulate, but it's overloaded. It's just overloaded. So the brain under stress chooses familiarity over progress. And so in my case, my brain and my body was choosing what was comfortable over the next level of progress. And one of those ways that helped me stop doing that was accountability. Because when I began to come to that point, and I remember sharing this with guys and friends of mine, because many of you will be like, oh, I have a close friend and I share those things with him. Great. Are they holding you accountable daily? Because I had those friends as well. And they were not holding me accountable daily because they were all busy and they all had kids and they all had lives. They weren't there to, get into my life and steer me in the right direction. And so I would come to that point of real growth. And that was the point of real growth. It wasn't the long stretch of wins that I would have in certain areas emotionally or physically or those things. It was that next level. And that next level, I kept stalling. I kept self-sabotaging. I kept choosing the comfort over the progress. So some of the data from Stanford has some great data on that stress increases impulsive behavior. And man, I tell you what, that was exactly what I would do. I would go from having everything going the way I wanted to go to all of a sudden, boom, impulsive behavior. I'd go, literally the same day, go to Total Wine and, grab some Casamigos and call it a day. Boom. It was like, whoa, how did I get there that fast and make those decisions that quick? Boom. Another study, willpower declines with decision fatigue. When you're having to make all these decisions, you don't have the energy. You have finite energy. And this is the data and study behind it. You run out of gas, and therefore your willpower declines, and you do that. 80% of New Year habit failure happens by late February. 80% of people already out of the game by what's going on at the beginning of the year. So you're not addicted, you're dysregulated. And I was there. I'm look, my hands up, both hands up, feet are up. I'm with you. And I want to walk you through this journey. I want you to understand that this is a pattern in your life and it's holding you back. And you have a choice in your life today. You have a choice right now today. You can hold on to the past. You can hold on to this old man. You can hold on to these old ways. You can hold on to these systems and this comfort. Or you can take that same hand and put it into the future man that you're becoming. The harder road, the road of less comfort, the road of things you've probably avoided, the road of the man you want to be, the road of the man that you want your kids to see. That is the choice that we all have. And when you look at it like, oh man, that's hard, Anthony. Well, here's the thing. Most want the rewards of change more than they want to change. And that's the truth. And so you get this emotional root, and I'll be a little bit quicker today to get through this, but you get a loneliness, relapse it comes in these forms, right? It's a loneliness spike. Maybe exchange day was just harder, and you're in your house and you're cleaning up and it's quiet and you just feel like you deserve a reward. You deserve some kind of comfort. It could be an identity collapse where relapse happens, where you don't have the job that you once had. You don't have the money you once had, right? And all of a sudden, because of that, your identity was so hinged on your performance, which again, I'm just I'm saying these things because this was me. So look, I'll put all my business out there and I'm happy to shoot it up. I'm happy to share the failures of myself. And usually it's the same failures of the dads that I'm working with, of my clients as well. You're hinged on this identity. For me, this identity of working with some of the most powerful men, in America, traveling around the world to continents and countries, and over 40 countries, and just having that cool factor, that cool flavor for me. Then it's gone, and then you get this relapse, or a client falls through, and this doesn't happen. Could be a rejection wound. Could be something that happens where, you thought you were going to do something, and you know somebody didn't call you back, and it didn't work out. And I've had that with even friends, even guys, and it turns into this rejection wound. I'm like, oh, who am I? I guess they don't care about me. I don't have those things, and so I'm not cool anymore. Could be a loss of control. Could be avoiding grief. And so the questions to ask yourself, and then we'll drop into this little kind of relapse system, is what are you actually avoiding? What in this instance, what are you actually avoiding? What emotion did you refuse to feel? Right? Remember, emotions are waves, man. They're up and down all the way around. What conversation did you avoid? What decision are you postponing? You didn't relapse because you're weak. You relapse because you didn't have structure. Scripture says that we take every thought to the obedience of Christ. So when I'm talking with clients, when I'm talking with dads, I'm saying, look, these are first we define what are the enemies? Where are you going to be attacked? What do these feelings feel like? What do they sound like? What do they look like? What are all these things, right? This is your enemy. This is the defense you're up against. And so then what we work through is, what's the system? When this happens, what do you do? Pre-planned, pre-programmed, no decision making, right? None of that, because that will fatigue you even more. We need a simple system. When this happens, boom, this is what I do. So the shift as we go through the FAST system, as you know, in the Skool group that we have, that's free, anyone can join it, check it out. The FAST system that I teach through, that helped me transform my life, has helped hundreds of other dads, right? It sounds like this. FAST ties into focus. What do we focus on? We need to focus on knowing what your trigger is. What is the trigger? What is the thing that catches your attention, right? Because once you know what it is, once you know the enemy, you can then design a plan of attack, right? When they do this, I do this. A is accountability. Tell someone before you spiral. When this happens, I have clients that they'll text me in when things are going on in their day, and they're checking in to also be accountable. Hey, I don't want to do this. Hey, when I go and do this, I want to make sure that I stay in this boundary, this grid. This is what's going to keep me in the moving forward and having progress. S is strategy for the FAST system. What's the strategy? How do we replace the behavior? For me, in this scenario, many times I was rewarding myself with negative things. And I had to go back and look and say, okay, what are positive rewards that I can have in these situations that I can do that is going to keep me on track to become the man that I'm going to be, that's aligned with my vision, aligned with my mission, that's going to be something that I'm proud to share with my children. If you're not proud to share it with your children, it's not a great reward. If you would not recommend that for your children, it's not a great reward. So you have to look at the strategy behind this, because it's a simple strategy. It doesn't have to be complex. You just have to know what it is, get accountable to it, focus on what that is, and then transformation is decide who you are becoming. So we said earlier, you have a choice. You can either turn behind you and hold on to that, or you can hold what's in front of you, the man you're becoming, the transformation. Time doesn't change men, structure does. And so you'll hear it from James Clear, which I love, and his stuff is great. And it's identity-based habits rewire behavior faster than motivation. So identity-based habits are the habits designed to build the identity of who you are and what you are. Now, many of you know that I go through scripture. Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, what are you filling in your mind? If it is not benefiting you, then it is not going to take you into that direction. If you were to look back at Tom Brady, and one of the things that Tom Brady did so well is that he learned that what he put into his body was going to affect how he was able to play. He had to transform. He had to change the things that he did in order for him to play at his best. That's what we're doing, dads. We're taking the inputs. Maybe it's not food for you, but maybe it's things you're watching, things you're listening to. We were on a call the other week in our Skool community, and a dad said, "Look, I need to turn my phone off. This thing is just driving me crazy. It is putting me in a dark hole. Turn it off." And you then have to rewire it. And I said, "Well, what are you going to fill that time with?" You can't just fill it with nothing, because your mind will find something. It's looking for something to focus on and hold on to. So you have to move it into the focus that you want. You don't fight relapse with guilt. You fight it with identity. And so here's a quick thing, and then we'll close. 3-minute relapse protocol. When the urge hits, name the trigger. Just breathe. Just breathe. If it's box breathing that you're into, if there's another breathing exercise you do, get a breathe. Get a breath in. Get some breaths. Text one person you're accountable to. If you're in the Skool community, drop it in there. Get this stuff out of you so that you can get accountable to it and move. Next is move your body for 5 minutes. Move around. Walk, jump, do what you got to do. Remove your body, or this trigger will control you. It will overwhelm you. And then lastly, just remind yourself who you're becoming. I have dads clients of mine, that we are constantly looking at who we're becoming. The reticular activating system, the RAS, it's your eyes are going to find the things that you're becoming. So have them around you, in your car, in your work, at your house. Have that around you so you know who you're becoming. Most men don't fail because they relapse. They fail because they relapse alone. And look, I was right there in that situation, relapsing alone, not telling anybody. And before we close this thing out, I just want to say, dads, if this has helped you in any way, one, leave a review. It's simple. It's a couple clicks. Share it with the dad and subscribe. There's a couple things. Why does that matter? It's like, oh, Anthony, the reason why is that there is, I believe, 1 million dads that are going to be transformed because of this, and it's going to change their life. It's going to change the next generation. By you doing a couple clicks that you might not like, you're actually sending this to dads without even you realizing it. They're finding it. They're getting help. I literally had a comment that came in today. This thing has changed my life. Thank you so much. That just by a click. So I want to say thank you in advance for doing that. And if it's helped you, just do that. If you need more tools and systems in Brotherhood, get in our Skool group. If you need something on a day-to-day basis, Divorced Dads of America is built daily, where I have coaching frameworks and systems every single day on Instagram that I share and I send for free for you to start getting these bite-sized pieces, planting these seeds that are going to grow into the right trees and harvest that you want. I love you guys. I'm rooting for you. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you.